What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the
GEEK
Buddies.
Hey!
There you go. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Geek Buddies. Don't adjust your sets. It is just the two of us here today because, of course, our third is working, but it'll be back for a Friday show, which right now we're tentatively saying is going to be a live show this Friday night, so maybe 5 p.m. PT, but we will announce it sometime in the next couple of days. But I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows, movies, video games, and other various media.
I like that. And we got so much to cover here today. We've got some more updates on the Man of Tomorrow, hashtag or AKA Superman 2. We're also jumping into some Spider-Man stuff from Tom Holland, who's giving us an update on what his work has been on the film. Brand new day that's coming here. He's interviewed with Esquire and some Scarlett Johnansson stuff as well. And then we're going to get into the meat of our episode, which is our review of Alien Earth Episode 6, The Fly. And there's so much to discuss in that episode as well. And that is a spoiler review. So if you enjoy the first three topics and you want to dump out, we totally understand, but we'd love you to stick through it so you can enjoy our review of it as well. All right, Michael, are you ready? Shall we jump in?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Let's do this. All right, here we go. Let's talk about some Superman stuff here. We've gotten a lot of updates over the last couple of days here as James is making the rounds yet again here. And we know that Superman the sequel is going to be called Man of Tomorrow. Now that's been clarified. It's Man of Tomorrow. And when he was talking to Howard Stern in a recent interview here in the last couple of days, Gunn said, quote, "It's a story about Lex Luthor and Superman having to work together to a certain degree against a much, much bigger threat. It's more complicated than that, but that's a big part of it. It's as much a Lex movie as it is a Superman movie. I loved working with Nicholas Hoult. I relate to the character of Lex. Sadly, I'll let that hang in the wind. I really wanted to create something extraordinary with the two of them. I just love the script so much." And apparently they're going to start shooting in spring of 2026, which he confirmed. So, Michael, you hear these quotes, you hear a little bit more of the fleshing out of the story. What are your thoughts on this from James Gunn, these comments?
I mean, it's more or less what everybody was assuming. So given the images that came out, given the announcement, and given where Lex ends up in Belle Reve, everyone was like, all right, if it's not strictly speaking a Superman 2, but it is a Superman 2, it feels like this is going to be Superman and Lex teaming up. And so I'm glad he confirmed it.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't even need to confirm it.
Okay.
Like, he's going to start shooting this thing in the spring. We're not going to see it for a year, over a year and a half, 2 years. Let's just let it lie. I don't really need him to tell me every time, oh yeah, no, Hawk Girl's in it. Then we're going to do this. Yep, nope, yep, we got this. Yeah, well, Maxwell Lord has an interesting role as the person between Superman and Lex who's going to try and get them to work together even though they don't want to. Well, Amanda Waller has been working with Lex. Like, I don't need to know every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Show me a teaser in a year. Show me a trailer after that. Let's go. I know that's not going to happen. I know we're going to get set leaks and we're going to get reveals, and then somebody is going to scoop something, and then James Gunn is going to come out on Twitter and say that absolutely is not true, but then it's going to turn out to be true, and you're going to say, why did he lie about it? And I'm going to say, well, he didn't really lie about it. I mean, people scooped it. He didn't want to say it, and now it turns out it's true, and you're going to say, well, I think that's a lie. And I'm going to say, well, I think that he just is trying to cover his butt, but I agree he shouldn't talk too much, and we will have this conversation 95 times. So I know that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
I wish it wasn't, but here we are.
Go ahead. Yes.
No, but to the end of the day is what I will say on the positive side of it is I'm actually excited. What I do think is great about this, like, again, no earth-shattering reveal in him saying this, but you know, I like that we're turning this corner on the Superman-Lex relationship so early.
Oh,
like,
interesting. Yeah, okay.
I like that, you know, so if you go through the Superman movies that exist, you know, you and me and Steve on Cinephiles talked at length about Gene Hackman's performance as Lex Luthor in Superman and Superman 2. And well, it's a very fun Gene Hackman performance. I wouldn't call it the quintessential Superman-Lex relationship. And then Brandon Routh and Kevin Spacey did their play on it. And it was an homage to Donner's. Again, I don't know that it really nailed Superman and Lex. And then, you know, Zack Snyder, I think to his credit, decided not to go down the same road, started with Zod, and then didn't bring Lex around till BVS. And I think even people who are really big Snyder fans, there are a lot of people that go, maybe that wasn't the exact right way to do Lex. Other people love it. Other people love it. But again, not the thing. So I think with this movie, we got as close to the correct Superman-Lex relationship as I think that we've gotten. So Lex remaining a villain, Lex staying a bad guy, could have worked. We've seen plenty of franchises that do that. But I do think turning this corner earlier on and saying, look, there is a bigger threat. My money would be on Brainiac, but we can see what he does with it. But here is a bigger threat that's coming in. And these two who have every reason to dislike each other are forced to work together and continue to argue about which one of them is better. Like, just because Lex Luthor is working with Superman doesn't mean that Lex Luthor has turned a corner and is strictly speaking a good guy. And it also doesn't mean that he still doesn't think that he's the smartest man in the room. And that conflict between those two working as a team, there's a lot of good story potential, good Superman Lex from the comic books potential, and good comedy potential. So I think it's a good move all around.
So that was a lot. So I'll go back to the first part of your statement, and I will say this. I like that we're getting, he's going to start shooting this in, he said spring of 2026, April or so is what he said to Howard Stern. I like that he's calling it the Superman sequel. Enough with the semantics. It is a Superman sequel. Cut it the fuck out. Yeah, they're calling it Man of Tomorrow, and that's all fine, and I got no problems with it. The idea of Lex and Superman working together, I think that's an excellent point you bring up. The idea that we're turning the corner this quickly in the relationship, and the two that you left out because they're not on screen is Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling. Like what they were able to create on Smallville, that relationship was really fascinating to see how it progressed through the years on that show. And I think there are a lot of people who watched that show and developed a different taste for the Lex Superman or Lex Clark Kent relationship and how that's going to play itself out. This is going to be a Lex Superman relationship. So how will this be like? Because there's not that background to them.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, and I'll say this, and some people might get upset, and that's okay. I'm used to it by now. But like, I don't know that James is the one that's going to deliver me a complex conversation and exploration of this relationship. Because remember, in the last movie, Lex shot a dude in front of Superman in the head. One of Superman, like the people that Clark Kent likes and really had a connection with, and all of that. They didn't make a big deal about it in the movie because they probably cut some of his backstory. But there clearly was a friendship or a love or a connection to this man, and Lex shot him in the head. So you're going to have to really overcome some stuff that Lex did, which he was very casual about possibly splitting the earth in two, for Supes to come around and make this connection. If this turns into a buddy cop midnight run type of situation so quickly, or Lethal Weapon, I'm not going to be the biggest fan of that. You got to deal with the elephant in the room. And I know James does some really touching stuff, some emotionally moving stuff, but I don't know that he necessarily does complex relationship stuff. So I have my concerns there, right? I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I love what they did with Rocket, and I forget the name of the main guy who was the villain.
High Evolutionary.
That was really touching and moving. Don't get touching and moving confused with complex. And I want to see more of that. I want to see if he can do this complex relationship and make us care about both of them. And I'm not surprised that he said it's going to be as much a Lex movie as it is a Superman movie, and then admits in the interview that he identifies with Lex more than he does with Superman. And that speaks a little bit to his ego as well. But that being said, I am excited for this, and I agree with you that turning the corner in this relationship is a fascinating decision this early in this version of Superman.
You do this funny thing with James Gunn movies.
Do I?
You go, yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm on board with this. And then you go, but here's all the reasons why I think James Gunn isn't going to do a good job. Like, you kind of do this.
Isn't going to do a job. I'm concerned if he's going to do a good job. But look, he's knocked it out of the park. I think in a majority of the movies that I've seen from him that I've enjoyed. So, but complex is not what I would say his movies are. Would you say that?
I think at times they are. I think that I would say on the whole, my favorite thing that James Gunn has done, not specific movie, but the thing he's done is Rocket's arc from Guardians 1 to Guardians 2 to Guardians 3. And I would argue, yes, it's touching. Yes, it's emotional. I would argue that Rocket is pretty complex for a talking raccoon. I also think he handled the alternate Gamora storyline in a really good way. Like, I mean, definitely got his comedy out of it, but the getting to the end of this and going, yeah, we're not right for each other. Like, he does good things. Now, what I will say, and I'm concerned about this with a couple different areas. You bring up Superman's buddy, who he bought falafels from, who got killed, and
murdered.
Yeah, I do think that moment was so jarring in the movie in a good way. Like, I was surprised that Lex did what he did. And I think Superman's reaction to it and Metamorpho's reaction to it, I think it served the purpose it needed to serve and was shocking in a way that was, I thought, good for the movie. If Superman and Lex get together and he's just like, you're a bad guy, you almost killed Metropolis, you did this, and that part that isn't mentioned or brought up, doesn't mean the movie will be bad. But I think that's a wasted opportunity. I think you are right that moment was so specific and personal that I think it would be great. In the same way that I hope we come back to this whole hot girl dropping what's his face and killing him when we keep so there's certain elements that I do. While I think that James Gunn probably does complex better than you think James Gunn does complex, I do think that sometimes in James Gunn's excitement to tell the new story that he wants to tell, sometimes details that I personally am like, I feel like there's more here that we could dig into or that we should dig into do get overlooked. And I do think that is true sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, listen, you look at Peacemaker, that is a good arc that he's got Chris on. It's fascinating, it's interesting. And by the end, judging from what we think he's doing with that alternate universe, if he nails the landing on that, then I might change my mind on the ability of James to do complex stuff that really appeals to me and excites me to see what he can do with this. But I agree with you, what you said. Like, I have to say this right off the bat. I don't have a hang up about what Hawkgirl did the way you seem to have and other people seem to have about it. I really couldn't care less if she gets ramifications for that. She's not an Earth person. To judge her by Earth standards.
Actually, I think this one is an Earth person. I actually, she is not the Hawkgirl from the. She is from Earth, and I do think Superman is the only, strictly speaking, alien thus far. I think.
Well, they said 3 centuries, so I just assumed that. But you might be right; they haven't clarified that, so we'll see how they. But because we saw what that political leader was doing, we saw what is not that I condone that kind of shit, obviously. But in a fantasy world, you can go like, well, I can understand that a little bit more. But a falafel guy's just selling falafel. And innocent and being dragged into all this and shot in the head in front of Superman. You can't just gloss that over. So I hope he's doing some kind of responsibility for that. Because I know people want Nicholas Hoult and Corn Sweat. They're great chemistry.
And I get, and there's ways to do. I don't think that it's like, I don't think either of these things is insurmountable. On this subject, I do think someone to say, I don't have an issue that Hawkgirl killed that dude. He was a bad dude. I'm happy that she dropped him. But I do think this gets back to the eternal arguments that we have about Zod and Man of Steel, or when Zack Snyder goes on and talks about Batman using a gun or not using a gun. Like, there are these things that just in comic books, like the whole concept of, does a superhero do this? Does he not do this? Like, I think that is rich material because I think that our superhero stories are a reflection of our ethical and moral values as a society. And I think that's what they're good for. And so when you have a movie like Superman, where Superman goes out of his way to say, I don't kill, I don't do this, Superman doesn't kill, he saved the squirrel, he did this. And then you get to Peacemaker and Maxwell Lord is interviewing Chris and he says, we don't kill and you killed a lot of people. And we have this character that just dropped a world leader. To me, I go that, and like, I don't think it's bad that she did it.
Right.
I think that is a great opportunity to have exactly the conversation that we're having, because when this happens, it's like in the comic books when Wonder Woman snapped Maxwell Lord's neck because he had taken control of Superman and Batman and said, I'm going to do this forever. There's nothing you can do about it. And she said, okay, fine, snapped his neck. And Superman and Batman were like, we don't kill. And Wonder Woman was like, I'm an Amazon bitch. I don't go by your rules. And that's interesting. That's interesting. So it's less that I have any kind of hang up on a character should or shouldn't do something.
Right.
Even Zod and Superman at the end of Man of Steel, it's not that he did it that bugs me. It's that he did something and we never talked about it in the movie. Like, had he done it, had Clark in the movie said any of the 95 things Zack Snyder said after the fact about why he did it, I would have been like, great, let's talk about it. So that's where I come from, that stuff.
I think that's a great point. You've constructed a world and you've set up the parameters and the expectations of the world. You have to adhere to that if you've set it up. And certainly Hawkgirl doing what she did, that doesn't fit the credo of what we've been presented from the Justice Gang. So that makes sense. You gotta own up to that as a. I'm sure James will. So hopefully. All right. Anything more on this, or shall we move on, bro?
Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know. Got concerns.
Skepticism is not bad. All right, let's move on to some Spider-Man stuff here. Let's talk about this. Tom Holland is, of course, shooting Brand New Day over there in Pinewood Studios in the UK. Well, he took a little bit of a break to be interviewed by Esquire, and he talked a little bit more about what people can expect about from this movie, rather, and about his role in the construction of the movie. He said that, for me, I want to do justice to Peter Parker's character. I want to bring the fans something that's really worthy of their time, and I'm very grateful for their investment in our franchise. I don't mean financially. I mean the time to go to the cinema 3 times. That's a big ask. I did a lot of sneaky research online, looking at what people were saying in the interim between Spider-Man No Way Home and now Spider-Man Brand New Day. I really just kind of put together a vibe of what people were looking for and went to Marvel and said, this is what I think we should be doing. I think that's exactly what we are doing. So it's been a really fun process developing the movie. It's the first time I've ever been allowed in that part of the process, and it's definitely a stressful experience. But I think where we've got to now that we're shooting, we are shooting absolute gold. And he also said that he followed up by saying, I have such a good understanding of who Peter Parker is, and I've been so lucky that the fan base has been so vocal about what they love from the franchise. We've been able to really lean into these things and capitalize on this thing. So I love standing up for the character, being in the room, and making sure that decisions we make are what's best for Peter Parker, because it really does feel like one of my best friends. It's a really weird experience diving into the character again. It just feels like you're hanging out with an old pal. So, Michael, that's a mouthful from Tom Holland talking about the character, but, strip away all the stuff catering to the fans. There's this element that he read stuff online, and then he said he brought that into the room, and he's got more of an ownership and more of a part to play in the construction of this character in this movie and the movie itself. So your thoughts on his comments?
I like it that he said sneaky research when you can't open up Twitter and see 95 people screaming about their opinions about the Spider-Man movies and Tom Holland and Peter Parker and all of it. Like, I was like, sneaky research. What do you think of Spider-Man? 90,000 people respond. But I appreciate what he's saying. What I like about it is, look, I am sure he has more control. Like, I mean, if you were Tom Holland's management, Sony and Marvel are like, we need him for 3 more movies. And you're like, well, you're going to pay him. And also he gets this, he gets this, he gets this, he gets this. So yeah, good on him. Like, he should have more control. He's a big part of the reason that this character has become as successful as he is. Like, they nailed it when they cast him in Civil War.
Right.
And I do think he probably has a good sense of it. I think reading between the lines, and again, this isn't new information based on everything we've seen so far, but look, when we were having these discussions about what exactly this Spider-Man movie was going to be, and Sony wanted to do another multiverse thing because No Way Home had done so good and the Spider-Verse movies do so good, and it was going to be this cosmic thing, and Kevin Feige wanted the ground level hero. When Tom Holland says, I did a bunch of research and I saw what fans really wanted, it's overwhelming that fans were like, look, I love the Spider-Verse and No Way Home was great.
Yeah.
But I want ground level Spider-Man. The promise at the end of No Way Home is that this is a Peter Parker who sewed his costume, who has to get a job to make ends meet in his apartment, who doesn't have an Iron Man suit, doesn't have a bunch of Spider-Men from every corner of the multiverse helping him out. This dude is just struggling to figure things out. Yeah. So I think when he says all those things to me, it's sort of a confirmation of, yeah, that's what we're getting. Like, yes, the Punisher is in this movie and he's going to deal with that. Yes, the Hulk is in this movie, probably rampaging around. Yes, Florence Pugh shows up as Yelena Belova and is going to ask him to be an Avenger. Like, those things are all elements of the Marvel universe, as they should be. But this is about a dude who's really kind of doing it on his own and figuring it out. And I think that's what, to me, he's really saying underneath all of the flowery stuff that he said.
Yeah, I come at it from 2 angles. One, of course, the cynical part of me is like, you shouldn't be listening to the fans about anything because the fans go in a million different directions. Not that the fans don't have valid opinions. Don't lose your mind, everybody. It's more a matter of like, the fans go in 5 million different directions. So which fans are you listening to? And so it can get dangerous. It can get bogged down. It can be a lot. And then you get in the room and you're like, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And then it becomes a game of paring things down to where you want to be. So, but there might have been some stuff that he gleaned from it that is like, look, okay, this is things I felt as well. It's nice to know that some of the fan base feels the same way I do. So I can go in with a little bit more of a feeling of like, I'm speaking for more than just myself in wanting these changes now that, we're moving on from John Watts. Maybe I have a little more ownership of the character with a new director coming in, and I can kind of push these things that I want to see from the character. So I like the ownership of that. I also think, though, but then the other part of me is like, I'm happy to see that. I like that he's taking more ownership, more control, because then we're going to see what Tom Holland like fully feels about this, or at least a more fuller feeling of what Tom Holland feels about Peter Parker, what Peter Parker should be doing, and what Spider-Man should be doing. So it's going to be fascinating to see if the film isn't received that well. Does Tom get a little bit of the flack, or is it only going to be Destin Daniel Cretton? Now that he's putting himself out there a little bit more, I think it's going to be fascinating. If the film isn't as good as people remember from the first three films, he's saying, I'm part of the construction of this. So he's putting his butt on the line, or his neck on the line to a degree on this as well. So I kind of appreciate that,
It's interesting. Back to what you said at the top of this, I've been thinking about it as you've been talking.
Mm-hmm.
Having worked on some pretty big brands, working on like the Transformers brand, My Little Pony, stuff like that. I understand what you're saying about the danger of listening to the fans.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I mean, when you think about what we say, even on here, when you talk about like toxic Star Wars fans, you talk about the toxic Superman fans, you're not wrong. But also, I do think that by and large, when you take a step back and you're not in the middle of social media, just getting the barrage from all directions, fandoms, even with all of the toxicity and garbage that we deal with on a daily basis, fandoms usually broadly move in the right direction.
Okay.
If you like Star Wars, you could get into the weeds and go, oh, we shouldn't have female Jedi. It should be guys all the way. No, we have to be progressive. We need to have this. Like that's in the weeds.
Yeah.
Star Wars fans not being currently satisfied with what we're getting is broadly true.
That's true.
And figuring out what that means and where we've gone wrong and where we veered off, you can kind of look at the fandom as a whole and start to put together a picture. It doesn't mean that one part of the fandom is right and one part of the fandom is wrong, but it does mean that there's dissatisfaction. And I do think that when you look, like I said with Spider-Man, like people argue about Spider-Man all day long. Some people hate the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy. Some people love it. Some people say Tobey Maguire was the best. Some people say Andrew Garfield got a bad rap. Some people would prefer, we can go on and on about the weeds of it.
Sure.
Most fans wanted to see this Spider-Man be a ground level hero.
Yes.
Like that came through loud and clear. Though there's things like that really get to the heart of, this is what fans want. And I do think when you look at all fandoms, you can cherry pick things to make your point all the time, to your point, if you get in the weeds. But I think broadly, fandoms do have a lot to teach the companies that are working with them if they listen properly.
That's the key, isn't it? Listening properly. It's not
listening properly and knowing what to listen to and what not to listen to, and where to not get into the, oh shit, we really fucked up. Like Rise of Skywalker is 100% the perfect example of listening to everything incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, even as I love Last Jedi, and I will defend Last Jedi to my dying breath as being the best of those three movies in that new trilogy, there are things where I think Rian Johnson overshot. There are things that Rian Johnson could have done a bit differently and not caused as much of the uproar. And if Disney and Lucasfilm had listened and said, ooh, maybe Rian went too far here, or he went too far here, but here's what we think is really good, they could have gotten somewhere. But I think they panicked and listened to everything, and we all saw the result of that.
And I would throw BVS in there. If they had just after Man of Steel, let Zach do what he was doing and see what happens, instead of panicking and trying to shove 4 graphic novels into one movie, we might have had something better in BVS that could have listened to what the fans' criticism of Man of Steel were, adjusted Superman's character a little bit to fit in the expectations level of people have about Superman, and still be able to tell his version of the story. So yes, I agree with you.
While I'm, as everyone is well aware, I'm not the biggest fan of the Zack Snyder section of the DC universe,
Yes.
I actually 100% agree with you. I think you can't, like, BVS is more Warner Brothers' fault than Zack
100%.
Snyder's fault. Like,
Yes.
if Zack Snyder had been able to make a Man of Steel 2, maybe you are correct. And I think they should have let him keep doing that. Batman versus Superman is 100% oh shit, Marvel has beat us to these big team up movies that make billions. Let's just jump ahead and let's not do this separate Batman movie. Let's not do a sequel to Superman, and let's just jump ahead to this. And it was 100% the wrong decision, and that is not Zack Snyder's fault.
No, it isn't. And that's what led to that monstrosity that is Joss Whedon's Justice League. They messed up BVS so bad that they went into Justice League and felt that it was Zack Snyder's fault. And so anyway, we're not going to litigate that all over again, but whatever. It is what it is. But I hear you. So yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with listening to the fans. I do think if you listen too much to the fans, you can get lost, as you said, Michael, in the weeds very well. All right, so we'll see what happens. And we're looking forward to seeing more of that down the road because, I mean, they're already shooting, Michael, for a few weeks now. So we will see what we get when it gets. All right, one last thing before we jump into our spoiler review of Alien Earth Episode 6. This has been going around here, a rumor here that Jurassic World Rebirth, which divided critics but grossed $861 million at the worldwide box office. Let me slam my head into a wall. Apparently, according to Daniel Rickman, Daniel RPK over there on Twitter, a new Jurassic World movie with Johansson as the lead is already in the works. He said that this film to me really felt like, Johansson said, this film to me really felt like it's singular. It's in its own, as its own piece. And you hope that this film stands on its own without the support of the films that have come before, and that it doesn't need to extend beyond what it is. Well, that seems to maybe be changing, Michael, because it made $861 million, and maybe you get the whole band back together again to make another movie. So are you surprised by this, even though Scarlett said it was basically a one-off?
Listen, when a massive IP that has rides in multiple theme parks is dying at the box office, and then you make a movie that makes $800 million, yeah, you're going to make more of them. Look, this movie was not... All this means to me is that we are going to get yet another Jurassic World trailer where I will have to say for 6 months that I think they finally cracked it because the trailer gets me excited, and then be disappointed again.
Yes.
But what I'm curious about is, like, really, what is this movie? Like, I mean, I'm sure Universal is trying to figure that out too right now. But
yeah.
But like, so Jonathan Bailey and Scarlett Johnansson get the DNA, the blood samples from the dinos, so that they can make this ultra cure that's going to like cure all of humanity and like be amazing and help us cure these diseases. And then at the end of the movie, decide not to give it to the company, but they're going to open source it to the world. So we know we've got this island that has a bunch of mutant dinosaurs that are still just chilling over here. And we know that we are open sourcing this code that has the cure for diseases that comes from dinosaur DNA.
Yeah.
And we know that dinosaurs that are in other parts of the world, thanks to the last Jurassic World trilogy, are slowly dying out.
Right.
Like, do they have to go back to the island again? Doesn't that just seem like a repeat? Like, or are we going to go full like humans mixing their DNA with dinos and just do the entire like dinosaur people thing, which seems like jumping the shark in a big way? Like, what is it going to be? I don't know, but I can tell you that the trailer will come out and there will be dinosaurs and they will play the John Williams music. And this asshole right here is going to go see it again.
Well, I mean, the other thing to consider, and listen, I've said this about these movies. I think they try to be intelligent. I think they think they're Harvard intelligent. They come off community college intelligent. And I can say that I went to a community college and graduated from one, but like you see that as an element of it. And so I'm concerned because they were really ham-handed in the last movie. Are we moving into the AI section of Jurassic World? Are they going to find some way to create these dinosaurs through AI and like 3D printing machines. Like, is there a way that they're going to do this as an element and making commentary about our society?
I feel like you are Jordan Peele in that Gremlins 2 sketch from the Key and Peele story. You're like, wait, did you just say Velocibots? It's in the movie. Velocibots are in the movie.
I mean, I've seen these movies. It's not out of the realm of possibility to just toss all that madness in there. But
interestingly enough, I mean, to your point, interestingly enough, because we're about to talk about it, Alien Earth right now is doing a better job of hitting the major themes of Jurassic Park than the Jurassic World movies do. Like Alien Earth going, don't fuck with nature because it fucks back is way more compelling to me than what Jurassic World does. And I do think, Universal has the best intention. Like nobody wants the Jurassic World movies to be better than Universal wants these movies to be better. They would love nothing more than if all of us decided that these movies were actually amazing finally, and we were back to the old school. And like everything they did with this movie, we're putting it on an island, we're getting back to basics. There was an attempt to go, we know we got a little wild with the last trilogy. Let's go back to making it feel like Jurassic Park. But they didn't quite get there. So
I feel like,
you know what? No, I hope they get it right this time.
I feel like Universal Pictures for a lot of us is like our family member who keeps dating the wrong guy or girl, and all his or her friends love the wrong guy or girl, and we're trying to get them to stop dating the same terrible guy or girl that they're dating because their friends keep loving it, and they just keep feeling like, well, my friends are saying they're cool, so I should keep dating people like this. And you're a family member going, no, for the love of God, stop.
You bring up a good point. I'm sure people in the chat will go list 1,000 things and tell me that I'm wrong, but how much of our love for Universal dates back to growing up when Universal and Amblin, look, I see Universal and I think of E.T. I think of the original Jurassic Park. I think of the Back to the Future movies. Like I think of those things I think of Jaws. Like I think of things that I love, but Jaws 50 years old. Like Universal today has Wicked.
Yep.
Like they nailed it with Wicked. But what are the big ones? Because Warner Brothers has had a really good year.
Wow. Yeah.
Like Warner Brothers has done, I mean, whether you like Minecraft or not, that killed. Sinners was huge. Superman was a success. Like they've had a good year. And Disney, we can argue about Disney strip mining their IP all we want, and where Star Wars and Marvel are in danger, but Disney remains kind of at the top of the heap. But what is Universal's biggest movies aside from Wicked?
Yeah, Jurassic World. Those are the biggest ones, right? Yeah, those are the biggest ones. So you got to make it work in that way. So we'll see. Hopefully, I mean, if I was Scarlett, would you say no if she wanted to direct the next one? I would feel like not a bad idea. Throwing it out there.
Maybe she's in a bit more like, look, Scarlett Johansson, one of the most bankable performers in Hollywood.
Clearly.
And she was in this movie. If she really put her foot down and said, I want to direct, I want this, I want creative control, I want script approval, would the Jurassic World movie that comes after this work well without her or not? I don't think she's quite in Tom Holland territory, if what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
like you can't make the next Spider-Man movie without Tom Holland.
Right.
You could make one without Scarlett Johansson.
100%. 100%. You could make one without Scarlett Johansson. It's the dinosaurs that sell. I mean, please don't get it twisted.
Yes. Now, if the Velociraptor wanted to direct,
I mean,
then you say yes because you need the Velociraptor for that movie, even though they barely used them into the last one.
Cut. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to Jurassic. Let's move on to Alien Earth, episode 6 here. We're going to this is a spoiler review, final warning, spoiler review for this episode. Michael, we got a little bit more furthering of the storylines here, a lot of tension. We lost one of the kids in this episode as well, but we got more here with Boy Cavalier taking on the Weyland-Yutani company there for the specimens that they have taken from the ship. Of course, we found the last episode that was all staged by Boy Cavalier here. We also got more with the doctors here, and apparently one of them is gone with a face hugger now. As I said, we lost one of the kids here, and we got some awesome scenes here with Morrow, and then Morrow and Kirsch as well going on. And there were a lot of conversations here about the responsibility of this whole thing that's going down here on this island, and Wendy herself. Where is Wendy's agency? Like, Hermit wants to take her away because he still thinks she's a young little girl and he wants to protect his sister, which is totally understandable. But Wendy herself, now with what just happened, we find out what happens with Nips, that they essentially lobotomized her and sent her back to a time before. That really unsettles Wendy. I don't know why they left her alone in the room to talk to her if they were going to do that. And so now she's starting to feel this independent energy, and you see her pushing back. And the whole time we have Boy Cavalier reading the Peter Pan stuff, talking about Wendy realizing that she can't stay in Neverland for much longer. So what are your thoughts on this episode? What stood out to you? What worked for you? What'd you feel, man?
I mean, if you've been listening to these spoiler reviews, I'm all in on the show, and this episode did not change that. I thought it was amazing. This is the next two episodes, all hell's breaking loose. Like, kind of when we did the Maginot sort of flashback last week, which was a great hour of television. Yeah. It was like, okay, that's the 5th episode. We got 6, 7, and 8. And I was like, what has to happen in 6 when I was going in to watch this was all of the different threads. We have to get to a point where, all right, it's all been building to this, and all hell's about to break loose. And that is what happened. Yeah. Like, every single piece of this, Morrow and Slightly, Kirsch observing everything, Wendy, the Nibs thing kind of coming to a head, and Wendy having that be a choice that she's making, Hermit getting ready to get the fuck off the island with his sister. Like, every single piece of this all coalesced and ended in a hugely tense scene in that lab. Yep. And kind of gave us what we've been waiting for. We got the face hugger. We have got that drone that xenomorph is now pretty much full size. Yeah. We're going to have another xenomorph any minute once that egg gets laid. Like, all hell's about to break loose. Morrow's going to use that to come in and try and get everything out of there. Right. And what is Boy Cavalier's real plan with all this? Was this part of what he wanted to have happen? We'll see. It's certainly what Kirsch wanted to have happen. And then to your point, Wendy kind of realizing, it's really interesting because obviously Cavalier looks at every single person and species on his island and in his territory as his pieces of property. Right. And he doesn't care about them. He wants to use them. But even her brother, even Hermit, kind of treating her like a child and talking down to her and saying, hey, don't worry, I'm going to get you out of here. He's holding on to something that is not what Wendy is either. Like, the conversation between him and Kirsch, where Kirsch was like, you thinking you're going to take care of her is like an onion thinking it's going to take care of a comet or whatever he said. And Wendy kind of really finally asserting herself with Dame and saying, like, I don't want to be human. Like, her observations about the xenomorph and how the way that she is sort of relating to the xenomorph more as we are both two unique things that are being used and manipulated by everyone around us. Right. And I kind of relate to you more than anybody else right now. It's all just wild. And what I love about this episode particularly is, to your point, every one of these scenes just got into what does it mean to be human? Yeah. Like all of the big kind of heady sci-fi stuff that Noah Hawley wants to deal with, while at the same time really delivering on those tense moments that you want from the Alien franchise. Yeah, 100%. I'm going to start with Wendy because I like this episode. I think there are a couple things that bother me about the episode. Who is running security, that all these things can happen and no one is monitoring this stuff? What does his right-hand man do? What does he do when he's not telling the doctors to lobotomize Nips? Why isn't he watching the cameras? Why isn't he monitoring what's going on with Slightly? Dude, that guy's got emails. He's got emails he's got to send. He's got conference calls. They got Zoom. You know how many Zooms he's got to do in a day? Oh, he's busy. No one's monitoring this stuff. And also, the kid is dead there in the lab, and the doctor's just worried about putting his stuff together. He doesn't even notice on the camera. So there's little things like that bothered me. But overall, what you're highlighting is what I loved about the episode. The continuing to have the conversations about what it means to be human, what it is. Do you value humanity the way you should value humanity, or you've been told to value humanity? And I like that there's undercurrent led by Wendy there in the middle of the episodes you mentioned,
with the doctor saying like, I don't know if I want to be you anymore. The things that you guys do, the things that you humans do, I don't think I want to be human anymore. I actually want to remove my feelings. Kirsch is right. Of course, he pushes back, Dame Sylvia does, saying like, well, he's a machine. He would say that, but that doesn't necessarily change Wendy's mind in the moment. So I think she's a wild card now. Where is Wendy going to go? And you want that for your protagonist of a show like this, that you don't know where she's going to go. And I find that to be really fascinating. And you bring up an excellent point, Mike, with her brother. Her brother still thinks she's a baby, like a young girl. And so he's trying to treat her like that. And even when he's talking with his two buddies from the Weyland-Yutani, when they're out there like monitoring or walking the perimeter, they say, do you think it's your sister? And he's like, yeah, I think so. Like, he's not even fully committed to the fact that it is his sister, but he still wants to get her out of there. And it may do it because he gets the information he needs to do it. But the Wendy situation, I think, is fascinating. Is there anything more you want to that stood out to you with the Wendy storyline and what she, like her talking to the alien at the beginning, and then where that goes, the connection she has with that, as you said?
Well, in that, as an Alien fan, like seeing a xenomorph at that point in its growth, it was really cool, because usually we skip it. Usually you get the chest bursting guy who just sort of tears out of there, and then we find the skin. Oh, it's gotten bigger, and then we see like the xenomorph in all its glory. So seeing sort of mini xenomorph was cool, but like it was really unsettling. I mean, watching the way that she is clearly enamored of this thing. And even when she says to Hermit, like, the pronunciation's a little bit weird, but I think I'm getting it. You're like, oh, like she is fully communicating. And then when she's talking to Hermit, I thought the entire conversation where he was like, look, they're not like us. Like, we have brains and they just do this and this and this. And she's like, well, bees do that. Ants do that. Like, they have a colony. Like, just kind of pointing out that humans have this belief that because we are more intelligent, because we have emotions, because we have empathy, that we are better than all these other things. And what Wendy is on this journey of is going, are you?
Yeah.
Like, I know that I was human, but what I am is something new. And if I don't want to deal with those things, I don't have to. And this creature that is one of the most like perfectly designed creatures in the cosmos, that its entire purpose is to reproduce, build more, get a bigger colony, protect the queen. You're like, they might have it right. I might like this better. Like, that's real. That is not where I thought the show was going to go, but that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I also want to add a certain element to that conversation with Hermit as well that struck me. Yes, overall, the idea of like, human beings and this and that. But I think there's something really interesting. And I think there's some language being used here by Noah Hawley and Lisa Long, who wrote this episode.
Consent?
Yes, but also the idea of slavery. And she said, these specimens, not specimens, right? She said, they didn't ask to be brought here. And then Hermit's like, yeah, but they don't have community. They don't have the brains like we do. Like, those are the things that people who were in charge of slavery said about slaves when they were brought over to this country and other countries as well. Like, they're not as smart as we are. They don't have community like we do. They're not as developed as we are. They don't have feelings like we do. There's a lot of that conversation. So yes, on a species level, I think you're great to highlight that, but I also think it also works on a bit of a slavery level in the way that Wendy is defending that situation and trying to get Hermit to see past his developed biases towards this situation. They're all just killers instead of looking at it. And she's able to communicate. It's very Star Trekian in that way. She can communicate with the species like Spock with his mind meld and have a conversation with that species. And there's something exciting for her about that. And I wonder where this is going to go with the xenomorph. Is she going to be able to not necessarily control, but work with and talk to the xenomorph in some way? Will the xenomorph ally with her against Boy Cavalier? Will we be cheering for an alien? This is going to be fascinating to see, Michael, if that's what happens.
I don't know, man. It's like, I don't need a bunch of like good xenomorphs like the good raptors in Jurassic World. Like, and while I do agree with everything you're saying, also Hermit is not wrong. Like, these things are fucking killers. Like that, they are one of the most horrifying movie monsters I think that exists, because they are just.
I don't disagree with you. But if you yank 2 humans off the planet and put them into a cage, humans would do their damnedest to try to kill you to escape, right? I mean, there's no difference. It's like we saw on Planet of the Apes. But let's move on to Kirsch, man, because he had 2 of the best scenes. We already mentioned the Hermit one, but this scene in the elevator, brother, I'm telling you, man, the excitement. This is like promo in boxing. They go and they have the press conference and they all talk shit about each other till the fight. We are leading to this fight. And we find out that Kirsch is actually an outdated model in comparison to Morrow's model. And no, we didn't. I thought he said
Kirsch is outdated compared to what the hybrids are.
Oh, sorry, the hybrids. Apologies. Okay, fine. But either way, he sees him as outdated and calls him old toy by the end.
Yeah,
I think is going to be so interesting to see. And Kirsch watches Toodles get killed in this and watches the face hugger go on Dr. Sylvia. So what is his role in all this, Michael? What do you think about these scenes and what do you think he's doing here?
Well, the thing that's interesting about the Kirsch and Morrow scene is, yes, like they are smack talking to each other for sure, but they're both also sort of letting the other know that they both know more than it seems like they know. Like Morrow knows about everything that's happening on the island because he's been talking to Slightly, but Kirsch knows that Morrow is talking to Slightly and has listened in on all those conversations.
Yeah.
So they both have way more information than anyone else would think that they do. Yeah. And both of the things that they're saying, like when Morrow's talking about, hey, you know, these kids are great. Like I need to get a body like that. Like how does it feel being the outdated model on that island? Like you're basically raising your replacements, kind of letting him know, like, I know what's going on that island. Yeah. But when Kirsch says the things about him being like, you know, a self-hating human who wishes he was more of a robot. Like he knows that because he's been listening to the conversations with him and Slightly. Like he knows all these things. So it was a really interesting scene of we're saying what we're saying on the surface, but we're also saying a whole bunch just underneath the surface. And even the conversation where he was like, I love killing synths because, you know, they just observe everything. And he's like, really? I think the pain would be kind of part of the point of doing this. Don't like, you are correct that like you just really want to see these two go at it, but at the same time, what does Kirsch really want? Are they going to go at it? Like he fully knows that Morrow is getting Slightly to get the facehugger to impregnate somebody.
Yeah,
he watches it happen. He knows why Slightly does it. He sees it all happen. My real question in this episode is: did he send Isaac/Toodles into that lab
on purpose,
knowing that he was going to lock that one door and it wasn't going to open? Like, did he send Isaac to his death? And if so, why? Or was that just a freak accident? But as he was observing everything in that lab and watching everything that happened, he certainly didn't seem too distressed that Isaac's corpse was laying there.
Right.
So that was like what Kirsch actually wants is interesting. Like Kirsch's disdain for humanity is clear.
Oh, yeah.
Kirsch's belief that the hybrids could do amazing things is clear. Is he threatened by that? Because they are potentially more powerful than just a straight up synth? Or does he want to shepherd them into something? Does he want the xenomorphs for himself? Like, what does he want? We're going to find out in the next few weeks. But yeah, every scene with him in it is absolutely amazing. And his entire scene with Hermit, where he was like, she's just a kid. And he's like, keep telling yourself that. Like his whole, like, you are a fucking, what, you want to go like play house with like the most, the smartest, most powerful being on the planet currently? Like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, buddy.
Yeah, and again, it works on the surface for the back and forth, but it also works on this idea of how sometimes in families people want to keep certain children at a certain level infantilized because they cannot handle them growing up. And so there's an element of that going on there that I think is really well done as well.
I mean, the passage that Boy Cavalier reads about Peter Pan is where he specifically says when any of the Lost Boys started to show signs that they wanted to grow up, he like booted them out and they got killed. So he's not the only one wanting to keep, you know, Boy Cavalier is interesting because he said in like the second episode, oh, I only wish I had somebody as smart as me to talk to, and then goes out of his way to make sure that all of the hybrids stay as childlike and infant-like as possible.
Yeah. It's what I said in our review when on that episode, is that he wants he says he wants someone who's his intellectual equal or more intelligent than him, but there's nothing infantilized, intelligent people hate more than someone who's more intelligent than them, as we've seen in our real world, how they react to that when someone is more intelligent than they are, how they lose their minds, even though they claim they want someone who's intelligent, because it threatens them, because they're not emotionally developed to handle what they see as a threat. But speaking of Boy Cavalier, let's move on. And let me wrap up, Kirsten, and say the same thing. I agree with you. I don't know what his motives are, other than maybe he is trying to turn the synths against Cavalier so that the hybrids against Cavalier, so that he can possibly be in charge of them or lead them, almost like the leader of a team type of thing. But let's move on to Boy Cavalier. What do you think of the scene here between him and the lady who's in charge of Weyland-Yutani here, the granddaughter of the lady who got in charge of it? What do you think of this? What's this leading to, this negotiation? Where are we going with this? He tricks her into giving him $20 billion plus costs for everything, even though he's the one that had an agent on the ship sabotage the ship to land, and he's taking the specimens. And what do you think about all of this? What is the ramifications of this scene, bro?
It was interesting because I don't know if Morrow hasn't told Yutani that he watched that video or what, but like Morrow knows that Boy Cavalier is responsible for all of that and for all of the sabotage. So I'm interested where that's going to come back up, because I was sitting waiting for that to get dropped into the conversation and for Yutani to be like, trump card, bitch. But it was interesting. It was really, this is like nerdy world building stuff, but as we have these corporations that are running the earth, and how do they handle their disputes, like watching how this whole scene played out was interesting.
Yeah.
Whatever Boy Cavalier has going on with his foot obsession, or I don't know why he is always holding things with his feet. He is walking barefoot. He is putting those nasty fucking feet on the table. Like that. It's like it might as well be a Quentin Tarantino movie at this point. Like there is so much feet all over the place. It's very disturbing.
He's almost a primate in that way. Like he's almost like a monkey.
Well, he's like a little kid who's like, look at me, I don't have to wear shoes. Like his whole weird Peter Pan thing is very, very weird. Yeah. It was a really cool scene just to watch how he outmaneuvered her. I mean, not just getting the 20 billion, which was fine, like the negotiation back and forth, but the whole concept of, you can have your, like the fact that she didn't want brought up,
right?
That they had brought a bunch of invasive species to Earth, which is a huge no-no. But that was like, she was like, I want my ship back. And I think she was banking on, he's not going to say the thing about what was on the ship. And she's like, yeah, you can have your ship back as soon as I can get it out of my buildings. But what you really want are these invasive species. And she's like, that's not true. And he's like, you want to see the pictures? And she's like, okay, stop. We'll pay you all this money. She's like, they weren't supposed to be on Earth. They were supposed to go to a space station, which is how we're supposed to handle these things, but it crashed. So just give them back to me. He's like, I will, in 6 months. 6 months of having a xenomorph and some face huggers means you can impregnate as many people as you want. And give her back her 5 original eggs or whatever. Like you're going to have your own army of xenomorphs. So at that point, she no longer has the upper hand. So he wins. Yeah. So he sort of outmaneuvered her, except for the fact that she's going to send Morrow in after all hell breaks loose. Yeah. But I love power dynamic scenes like that. And that was just a really, really good one, a fun one to watch.
I agree. And I thought both of them handled that really well, including the guy who was the mediator in between the two from the 5. I thought he handled it himself really well in the back and forth. But this also leads to the idea of, well, it shows us the Cavalier doesn't care about rules. Doesn't care about dynamic. He even said, like, you guys are arguing about stuff in the present. I'm already living in the future. And in the future, we make quick decisions and make trillions of dollars. That's the way I live. And so it's difficult to make negotiations or have good faith negotiations with someone who is really just looking to be the victor every time in every negotiation and is willing to break all the rules in order to achieve that victory.
Sure, but Yutani has a cyborg standing next to her who she's already planned on sending in to like steal the stuff back anyways. So it's not like it's an even playing field. As would be the case in any world where mega corporations run everything, all of them would be dirty and break the rules all the time. Yeah,
that's true. And they do, as we see in our world now. What about the Nib situation? Let's talk about that, Michael. What do you think about the Dame Sylvia and Arthur Sylvia? Essentially, although Arthur was against it, Dame goes along with it. They essentially lobotomized her, and she is freaked out by this, as Wendy is as well. What do you think this is going to lead? Because we also saw the death of Toodles in this episode. Curly was kind of dismissed. Smee was a little bit on the side, but we have the death of Toodles, Nibs lobotomized, and Wendy starting to grow in power in her own mind and independence.
Well, what's been interesting about this entire arc with the hybrids is that what we were told in the first episode was these hybrids are supposed to be a way for humans to live forever.
Yeah.
Like if we can really crack this and take a human consciousness and put it in a synth body, this is going to allow people to live forever. This is going to be this great thing. But from the moment that happened moving forward, they have been treated like property and not like people.
Yes.
And that we've seen that across the board with all of them. But with Nibs, like, look, on the one hand, if I was running this program and Nibs told me she was pregnant and then jumped across a room and almost killed me, I would maybe want to deal with that situation too.
I agree.
But the way that they deal with it, which is so like, I don't care. We're not giving this person therapy. Just like cut it out, reprogram it. I want her standing nice when the fives intellectual, whatever, like whoever's going to come and see these things and see what Boy Cavalier has been doing. It's like, let's just make them look good. Yep. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So, again, just treating everyone and everything like property. But yeah, I had the same thought you did. Like when Nibs woke up and Wendy was there, I was like, listen, if you're going to wipe out 48 hours to 72 hours of somebody's life, maybe give everyone the heads up that you shouldn't bring it up. Yeah. But Wendy just dove right in, and it was like, it actually really made me like physically uncomfortable to think about that happening to you.
Yeah.
Like to have somebody be like, hey, yeah, you know, we did this and we did this, and this weekend was super fun. We went here, and you just being like, no, today's Tuesday. And you're like, it's the following Wednesday. Like you to just all of a sudden realize that you have a gap that has just been robbed from you. Like given the emotional instability that Nibs has already shown.
Yeah.
This is not going to go well for anybody.
Nope. Wendy got her to that point by the end of their conversation because Nibs was, I mean, Wendy could have read the signs on the wall and not pushed it with Nibs, but she got her all the way to the end point where Nibs was like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I remember these things? Now you've essentially reset her back to where she was before because she's going to want to find out what the situation is and use her force and strength and power that she has in order to get those answers, at least from one of the doctors, because only one of the doctors is left. And I think it's all fascinating. What about the Toodles thing? Do you think Kirsch, like, what do you think about that scene? It's pretty fucking gross. Drove me insane. I was on the edge of my seat.
Like first props to them because everything from the moment that Toodles went into that lab to the end of the episode was the exact right level of like alien movie tension that you want. Yeah. Like it was just all shot great. It was super fun. We got to see these flies, which we hadn't seen before. It was really good. I mean, like it sucked that it happened, that Toodles is dead, but like the way it all went, and you knew what something was going to go wrong. Like, know, when he goes in there to do it by himself and he doesn't take Curly because he wants to show that he's responsible and he's growing up, and he goes in and does it. But like, they just shot it great. He did this one and he did this one. And the xenomorph is like hanging there and watching everything that's happening. And then my boy, the sheep, is all up in this. He is like the sheep is interesting because last week's episode, he seemed to warn the scientist on the Maginot, hey, those bugs are out. Whereas in this case, he really seemed to be responsible for Toodles getting stuck in there.
Yeah, he did.
He just scared him so that Toodles fell in and that door shut. So what this guy wants is a very suspicious sheep. I don't know where he's at with everything. But yeah, like what the whole concept of all of these other creatures feed on organic human beings. Yeah. So the synths are kind of safe. It's the reason that synths and hybrids are allowed in the lab and no one else is supposed to be in the lab. But then you have these bugs who feed on non-organic things. Like he was going to feed them pieces of metal and stuff like that. So now we have these flies on the loose. So Kirsch, Morrow's arm, all of our hybrids are in danger as well from those things. So I felt bad for Toodles, but when you start the kill count, when everything starts going to shit, someone's got to go first. And that was our boy Toodles.
Yeah, and I was the second he had his own name, I knew that the clock was on that kid, and so I thought the eye thing was going to pop out of the sheep and go into his eye. Maybe I had concerns about what was going on because
I
the
don't know
sheep
that the eye can because he's a synth. I mean, he's a hybrid.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
yeah,
know that that eye can
that's a good
connect
point.
itself to mechanical pieces as well as it can attach itself to organic pieces, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll find out, I'm sure, in the next 2
I
episodes.
mean, he was the only one not trying to, or it was the only thing not trying to get out. Everything
But it
else
was
got
also
out.
it was the same in the lab on the Maginot. Like, whatever's going on with that eyeball, I'm
Yeah,
fascinated by because it's I don't want to say it's the most intelligent. All of these creatures have a level of intelligence, and xenomorphs are more intelligent than some people give them credit for, but
Mm.
it is the only one that seems to have a plan that goes multiple steps beyond escape and kill.
Yeah. Agree with that wholeheartedly. What else do we want to? Oh yeah, what do you think about this situation with Slightly doing what he did? We got what do you call it? We got red herringed, thinking it was going to be the brother, and he got put on the patrol, and then because of Arthur Sylvia not wanting to do this stuff to Nibs, he essentially was in a situation where Slightly could take advantage of him, get him into the lab, and hide him with the face hugger. So what are your thoughts on that decision? Do you feel any sympathy for Slightly as well? Because the doctor said, I have a family. You're choosing your family over my family in that moment.
I do have sympathy for Slightly. I mean, I will say that I do think one of the harder things to do is have adults play kids.
Yeah.
I think when an adult plays a kid, it is always fraught with, I'm going to act the way I think kids act. I'm going to say, you watch what Tom Hanks does in Big, and you're like, man, that's great. And then you watch what Zach Levi does in Shazam, and you're like, I feel like you're acting like a kid, but I don't really believe you're a kid.
Yeah.
Every single one of these people playing these hybrids, I believe they're a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm into it. Maybe Smee is the one that maybe is putting on a little more than he needs to, but Slightly, everything he's dealing with, and the reason I feel sympathy is like when I look at this dude who is an adult, but like I'm seeing a scared 10-year-old boy who's trying to keep his mom safe.
Yeah.
And the way he's crying about it, like I feel bad for Arthur too, who out of everybody on this island, on the human side, is like probably one of the most ethical people who was just like trying to do right by these hybrids.
What does that tell you?
And it really fucked him at the end. I also did really enjoy the scene where Slightly was trying to get Hermit to go with him and was the worst double agent in the history of double agents. Well, like I was like, oh, buddy, you are not doing a good job. But yeah, so I thought it was all, and again, kind of the similar thing. When you look at everybody in the cast and who we're kind of saving for the bigger kills and who the leads are and who's going to go on, somebody was going to have to get impregnated by that face hugger. And Hermit and his relationship with Wendy, there's still more to happen here. Arthur was about to leave the island anyway. So in the writing gods of like who gives us another xenomorph fastest, his writing was on the wall too.
So now what? I mean, the question becomes like, Kirsch knows this is happening. Morrow has made it happen. So now we have Slightly in these vents a la Die Hard with this body of Arthur Sylvia. Where is he going to go with this? Who is going to be in charge of this? So I think this is going to be real interesting because I think we have 2 episodes left, right? It's only an 8-episode series. So as you said, the shit's about to hit the fan. I'm going to be really curious to see who comes out of that vent, who gets the body that comes out of that vent, and what it all leads to down the road, man. Yeah, go ahead, bud.
I mean, look, I think that Morrow's headed to the island to extract the species.
Yeah.
Cavalier and Kirsch are headed back to the island and Kirsch knows what's happening. Cavalier's about to discover that all hell breaks loose. Right. I think Dame Sylvia is going to have a reckoning with Nibs.
Yeah.
I think that Hermit and his soldier buddies are going to be fighting to survive. And I think that Wendy is the wild card. Like we know we have one xenomorph running. We're about to have one xenomorph running around when that one that's in the cage gets out. We have the sheep eyeball thing doing whatever the fuck it wants to do. Yeah. And then chances are we're about to have a second xenomorph at some point. Like, I don't think that they're going to get Arthur off the island in cryosleep so that thing can burst somewhere else. I have a feeling that's going to burst sooner than later. So like we are at the all hell is about to break loose moment. And I really hope that the next 2 episodes are just 2 episodes of just all out, well, fuck, we have to get off this island.
Yeah, and the colossal mindfuck could be that, because this is all in Slightly's mind, right? Like, who knows what we've seen it through what they showed us that is supposed to be his mom, but we've seen what the doctors can do to Nibs's mind and delete memories and put in memories. So how much of this is true? That's what I'm wondering about. How much of what Morrow is doing is actually true, or psychological intimidation, imitating the voice of his mom rather. This could all be, and so Slightly may find out that he killed all of this, did all of this to make it happen, and his mom was never in danger because his mom's no longer alive, possibly. So
possible.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there. It's
possible.
Crazy.
Look, I think Slightly's fucked up. Even if they didn't go that route, Slightly's fucked up enough. Like, I mean, Smee and Curly has her ambition, but Smee and Curly are the only two that are just like, guys, what the fuck is going on around here? We were just hanging out. They were there just having a good time. Everyone else is all into this stuff. Yeah, I think it's wild. Yeah. I'm really curious to see where the Wendy communicating with the xenomorphs goes.
Yeah.
Because I do think that, I mean, obviously I love a Peter Pan analogy and all of the Peter Pan stuff, and Wendy knowing that she was going to grow up and then trying to escape to Neverland, and Peter Pan wanting nobody to grow up and wanting people to stay young forever. And when you look at every one of the characters, there are these like metamorphoses happening. They're all changing and growing and going in their different directions. But the big thing with Wendy is, out of all of the hybrids, and that scene that she has with Dame Sylvia at the end really kind of hits it on the head. Like, she's evolving past everybody.
Yes. 100%.
She's growing up. And the thing about creating we're so scared about AI, but you take AI and you add human emotions and flaws and anxieties into it, and then you let that thing go. When it grows up past us and starts making choices, I kind of feel like that's what's happening. So even though this is an Alien Earth show, really this is about, what does Wendy become? Yeah, right. And does this lead to a triple threat match? Is it Wendy versus Kirsch versus Morrow in a fight near the end? I wonder. It's very possible. 3 different versions of that. All right, there you go. That's our spoiler review for episode 6, The Fly of Alien Earth. We hope you enjoyed that and enjoyed all the things we talked about here on the show. Michael, what do we have to tell them here as we wrap up this episode of Geek Buddies? If you would like to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, you can do so at The Rocha Says. If you would like to follow me, you can do so at MKToon. And if you would like to, you can smash that like button below, subscribe to John Rocha's John Rocha page, and check out all the amazing John Rocha content he has. Leave your comments below. What do you think of Man of Steel? What do you think of James Gunn when it comes to complexity? Man of Steel, Man of Tomorrow. What do you think? Let us know Man of Steel 2. Fuck, let's just keep talking about it. Okay. Let us know about Man of Tomorrow. What do you think of James Gunn's complexity? How do you feel about Tom Holland being more in the driver's seat on the new Spider-Man movie? Are you ready for that next Jurassic World movie that's going to be coming soon to a theater near you? And what did you think of Alien Earth? Let us know below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and some comments so we will go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your social, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. All in one breath. Amazing. Thank you, Michael. And thanks to everybody who watched us. We appreciate you all watching us every week, leaving your comments, leaving your thoughts. As Michael said, always remember to share the episode. It's a really big deal to get more and more of the audience involved. And don't forget about the podcast, just reiterating everything Michael just said. All right, take care of yourselves, man. Be well. We'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the
Geek
Buddies.